My name is Jerome Ferry. My cameraman is Alan Eggers. We're doing a video interview with Vern Knecht, who has many memories of country school as a child and a career in education for many years. Vern, tell us what year and where you were born.
I was born in Wall Lake, Iowa in 1915.
What was your parents' names?
John and Lily Knecht.
Mm-hmm. What nationality was that Knecht?
German.
What was your mother's maiden name?
Weiss.
Was your dad, was he born in this country?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. What was his occupation, your dad's occupation?
Farmer.
Mm-hmm. Up at Wall Lake?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Brothers and sisters?
I have one sister.
Mm-hmm. Is she still living?
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
She lives in Santa Clara, California.
Mm-hmm. What's her name?
Lola Oakley.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to go back, way back in your childhood memories and see what I can come up with. Growing up on a farm, Vern, I imagine your dad farmed with horses?
Yes, he did.
At the time. Do you recall how many horses he had?
He usually had 6.
And how old were you before you got to, did you ever get to drive a team of horses?
Oh yes, I cultivated corn and made hay and shocked oats and that on the farm.
How many acres did he farm?
It was just 100 acres.
Mm-hmm. Was that considered a pretty good sized farm? That
No, most farms were at least 160 acres by that time, and a number of farmers already had 320 acres they were farming.
Milking cows?
Yes, we had about 12 cows we were milking.
Did you help your dad milk cows?
Yes, I did.
Your sister?
No, my sister didn't. My mother didn't, but I did.
Do you remember any memories of milking cows in the wintertime, going out to the barn? How could you see? I don't imagine you had electricity either.
We were very fortunate to belong to a electric cooperative, and that from Lakeview. And so we had electricity and that, but it was always cold and that in the milk barn.
You mean early on you had electricity early on?
Yes.
Yeah. Before the rural electrification come in?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Really? So then you had probably a pump on the well to
Yes,
pump water?
but it was about 300 feet from the house, so we had to carry water to the house then.
How about, was your house modern? Did it have a running water or bathroom? And
we didn't have a bathroom. We had a cistern outside of the house, and so we had water in the kitchen then.
How about a cook stove? Did your mother have one of those big cook stoves with the warming ovens on top of it? And
Yes.
Fired it with wood and
had a what do you call it, for water, warm water then.
warm water?
Yes.
A warm water reservoir on it? And
Yes.
How about in the winter time? Do you remember taking baths?
Yes. We had a wash tub, I guess is what it was called. I mean, my mother would always have plenty of warm water to bathe with. And
Put it right by the kitchen stove? And
right.
Do you remember where did you sleep? Upstairs? Was there heat in the house? Or upstairs in the house, I meant?
Let's see. Yes, there was 2 bedrooms upstairs.
Was there heat up there? Or?
No, it's just a hole in the where the chimney went upstairs.
And so when you dressed, you probably stood around that stovepipe in the mornings trying to keep warm. And frost on the windows.
Yes.
You probably didn't have double pane windows like they
No.
do nowadays.
We had storm windows, but, and then, I forget what year it was, but anyways, the, windstorm, I mean, and we had a lot of dirt in the windowsills and that, I mean, from the storm.
Wall Lake, where is that in Iowa?
It's,
Northwestern?
it's the northwestern part of the state. We have, Highway 20 and 71 that meet, at Early, and so that's, locates it pretty close.
You were talking about wind. Doesn't Northwest Iowa get a large amount of wind?
Yes, now they have, wind chargers by Storm Lake and Elta. Yes, they have a lot of wind up there.
I
It's
don't.
right on the divide between the Mississippi and the Missouri River.
I don't want to jump ahead here, but being as you were talking about the wind, can you remember later on, especially in the 30s or the later 30s, when the Dust Bowl was in the western states? Did that affect western Iowa? Did it come that far east?
Yes,
You remember dust?
we had a lot of dust storms, yes.
Okay, going back to your home. How about mattresses? What did your mother used to stuff the mattresses with? You remember that?
We had a regular mattress, as I remember.
You didn't stuff them with new
No.
straw or
No.
Early on, you probably had radios if you had electricity.
Yes, we had a small radio.
Did you ever build a crystal set when you was a little
No.
kid? Never did. Telephones? Do you have telephones?
Most of the time, we did not have a telephone. Later on, we did.
How about a creek to fish in? Did you have a creek on the farm?
No, we didn't have a creek, but we did have a spring in our pasture. And then the Booyer River was about a mile west of us.
How about the 4th of July? Was that a big time, or is just a? Did your dad just work the 4th of July, or?
No, we had a
Celebration in town?
celebration at Lakeview. They had a entertainment place. I mean, they had slides into the lake and
Kind of
dance
like
hall.
an amusement park? Or?
Amusement park, that's what I was trying to think about, yeah. So we usually went there for the 4th of July and visited my grandparents. And
Remember Christmases as a little kid? Was there much at Christmas? Could your folks afford to buy you gifts, or was it pretty limited?
it was usually quite limited, and as I remember it, my grandparents always gave me a pair of overalls at Christmas, and one year they put up a Christmas tree with the candles on it. I mean, and we had to watch that for just a very short time because of fire hazard.
Did your folks ever keep a pail of water right by the Christmas tree just in case
No,
of emergency?
we didn't, because
They didn't leave them lit that
No,
long.
no.
But they were real candles.
right.
Do you ever remember getting any toys as a little boy?
Yeah, I think so. I guess the one that, well, there was two of them. I guess it was quite a surprise to me. I had been using my dad's saw and hammer and that, and I forgot it and left it out in the rain one day, and he said, "That's the end for you using my tools." And so I felt kind of bad about it, but at Christmas time, he gave me a saw and a hammer and a square. So, and then the other time, he gave me a 22 rifle. He said, "I'm not going to get you a BB gun,
BB gun.
and that, but when you're big enough, you can get a rifle."
Did you hunt when you was a young boy?
Yes, I did.
What'd you have to hunt in Northwest Iowa?
Rabbits, and then the neighbor boy and I, we trapped pocket gophers. And one of the neighbors, I think it was 5 cents the county gave for a pair of gopher feet.
A bounty that.
Yeah, a bounty. But this farmer wanted to get rid of his pocket gophers, and he said, "You catch on my land, I'll give you 25 cents for each one you gave it." And we kind of liked hard on his land because we knew I'd get a little extra.
Yeah. Did you have pheasants in Northwest Iowa, Vern?
Yes.
Jackrabbits. Did you have jackrabbits when you was
yes.
a kid?
Mm-hmm.
Was this something now that your dad would have you clean, or he'd clean it for you, or did your mother fix game, rabbits and
Yes.
squirrels?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you kind of supplemented the groceries.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Do you remember your dad's first automobile?
What?
Your dad's first automobile?
Yeah, it was a Model T.
How old were you before he let you behind the wheel?
Well, I guess I was 17 or 18, I guess.
Almost
Yeah.
high school age.
Right.
How about your chores when you was a boy growing up on the farm? What was your responsibilities then?
Well, I always had to go out and get the milk cows in the morning, and then depending on what Dad was doing, whether he wanted to go out the field and that, and then I would have to feed the hogs, and we also had sheep, and Mother had chickens, but she always took care of the feeding of the chickens and gathering the eggs and that.
Was it your job to keep the wood box filled, or is that your sister's?
I usually have to keep that, and we usually use the cobs from the corn, and for fuel as well.
Mm-hmm. You're talking about getting the cows. Could you ever call them home, or did you end up having to go to the far end of the farm to bring them
Well,
back?
sometimes, but usually at night they would be right up by the barn. But in the morning time, they might be out in the field yet.
As a young boy growing up on the farms, do you remember any bad storms?
We had one storm that I remember. We had a cave right next to the house, and we got into the cave, and as the branches blew around, and that there was one about 6 inches in diameter, came right on top of the cave door, and we had to get that out of the way to get out of the cave then. But we were glad we were in the cave.
What was that, a tornado? Or a
It was just
windstorm?
a windstorm, yeah.
Everybody around here talked about the blizzard of 35, 36. Did northwestern Iowa experience the same blizzard?
Yes. I was a senior that year, and we did not attend school at all in February. 1 month we didn't have any school at all. And we had snowbanks more than 10 feet high.
When you were, I suppose when you were about 15 years old, that would have been the right around the start of the Depression. Was a lot of the farmers, were they renters, and were they continuously moving every year? Was there a lot of renters?
There was a few. Most of them had their own farm. My dad was always a renter until we bought the farm. But there was a lot of moving. It was 1st of March, and usually they had a 3-year contract.
Why was I am aware of the farmers having to move the 1st of the March. Why was that? Because it was early enough ahead of the planting season that
Yes.
they could. Tell us about your country school. I'm sure that's where you went to school. Was a country
Yes.
school. How far away was it? Did you?
The school was 1.5 miles from home, and we always got, at least some of the boys did, get the water then from the neighbor that was a short distance from the school, and
That would be the boys' job to go take the water bucket and
right.
down the road and
Yeah.
try not to dilly-dally too long coming back. You still have fond memories, especially the spring of the year.
Yes, right.
Getting to get out of class and go get the water. How many did you have in your class normally?
Usually there was probably about 20.
And I'm sure you had to you walked to school.
Yes, we walked. Except when it was storming or that, my dad would come and get us.
Was you and your sister, was you close enough that you walked back and forth to
Yes.
school?
Yes.
Now, how did you go all through 1st grade through 8th grade in country school?
Yes.
How about what time did they start in the morning? Then
8 o'clock until 4.
back then, did everybody get up, stand up, and say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag?
Yes. And always had a picture of Washington and Lincoln, pictures on the wall.
You're talking about going to get drinking water. Did everybody drink out of the same pitcher when you come back?
Yes.
How about indoor facilities?
We had
There.
2 outside toilets.
That was the facilities.
Yep.
Could you just get up and leave class, or did you have to?
No, you had to get permission, 1 finger or 2 fingers. And this gives the teacher an idea of how long you were going to be gone.
Did you ever just put up a finger just to get out of class and go
No,
outside?
no.
Never did? Especially in the spring of the year? How about heating? How'd they heat the school?
There was a big pot-bellied coal stove, and then usually the chimney went almost the full length of the building then.
And was it so the heat would radiate off the stovepipe going across the
Right.
schoolroom? Yeah. Was it the teacher's responsibility? She have to do her own maintenance work and
Yes.
fire the stove and
Right.
clean out the ashes? Did the teacher, did she normally board with one of the neighboring farmers, or she?
Yes, she usually lived with the school board member then that was in charge of the school.
Do you ever remember any of their names?
No, I don't.
Too far back.
Too bad.
Did you pretty much have the same teacher all through grade school?
No, almost every year was a different teacher.
Were they generally young teachers?
Yes.
Would they play with you during recess? Would they go out and
Yes,
play games
yes.
with you? What games did you play, remember? What was the popular in the winter time?
Fox and Goose, and I think we planned Annie over the school building with a ball, and we played a lot of softball.
What was Annie over for people, the younger generation that don't?
Well, you had teams, and you'd throw the ball over the schoolhouse, and somebody, the other one would catch the ball and then come around and try and tag somebody to get on their team then.
Mm-hmm. How about, what was your favorite subjects in school?
I guess math,
Math?
yeah.
Did you, back then, did the kids have to get up and to recite in front of the
Yes,
class? And
teachers had a bench, and all of the class would sit on the bench and recite then. So I always figured that I got 8 years of the 8th grade, because the 8th graders would have to recite as well.
You found yourself, the younger people who could listen to what was going on as she was teaching the older classes. So
Yes.
it was kind of an advantage for, country school was an advantage for young children to learn quicker or be exposed to subjects quicker than they would in a normal school.
Yes.
Did you ever have stay after school?
I think it was once, yes. I couldn't spell some thing or that, and so the teacher said, you better stay for school after school.
Did you have spelling contests?
Yes.
Did you compete? Did it go beyond your school, the competition, or?
I don't remember that it did, but I think some schools did.
How about phonics? Was there such a thing as phonics in teaching back then?
Not very much.
Did any of the bigger boys ever give the teacher a hard time? That farm boys, some of the farm boys could get pretty good size sometimes.
Right. Yes. One boy was terrible, and he and the teacher got into it almost every day.
Christmas programs. Did you have Christmas programs?
Yes. A couple sheets was hung across the front of the school, and then most of us had to have a little poem or something we recited, and of course it was kind of a dual thing. We had the same thing then at church, and so got one verse for each one of them.
So when you put on a Christmas program, all the parents from the surrounding farms would
Right.
come and listen to it.
Mhm.
You ever remember the family gathering, like after a program, they would have oyster stew or something, a little social hour that.
Yes, we had a country church that was just about a mile from our place, and the men always had a oyster stew in one of the winter months. And otherwise we meant as a community gathering once a month.
How about discipline? How would the teacher discipline somebody that? I know when I went to school, I got involved. I had to fill the blackboard a couple of times with.
I will not.
I will not.
That was one thing, and then sometimes, as I remember, they were kind of restricted during recess. Just forget what it was. I guess they just had to kind of stay outside but couldn't participate.
Remember, did you have a big globe in the school? That
Not a big one, probably about 18 inches or something like that, yes.
penmanship, was that a big deal?
Yes,
Was there a
mhm.
special class in penmanship?
Yes.
Did they have a particular method that they tried to teach you?
Palmer method of penmanship.
Was you aware, you probably weren't aware then of Palmer, that
No,
he was originally from Cedar Rapids.
Right.
Cedar Rapids, Iowa. How about inkwells? Did your desk have inkwells in them?
yes, they had inkwells, but I think we had to have just a bottle of ink, and we didn't use the inkwells.
Did you use the, it was just a wooden handle that held a point, a
Yes.
pin point in it,
Yes,
and dip it in ink? Lunch pail, I suppose. Did you
usually it was
took your lunch with you?
a lard bucket or a syrup bucket that most of us had for carrying our lunch then.
What would your mother back in those days, what would she have packed in your lunch pail? They didn't have cold cuts, I don't suppose? Or?
No, as I remember, it was even before peanut butter was along, so it would be jelly, or if you had, say, maybe roast or some kind of meat, she'd have a sandwich of that kind.
Was your dad, when you think back in the later years, did you think, was your dad kind of, were your folks kind of hard up for money? Or was it something that you never noticed because you were just growing up with it?
Well, it was just before the Depression, and my dad was renting, and then my grandfather said to my dad, why don't you find yourself a farm and we'll buy it? And so he furnished the second mortgage and that, and so during the Depression, and of course everybody was the same, you might say, and we didn't realize how lucky we were because we always had plenty of food and shelter and that, and so we didn't realize that we were no different than the neighbors. And so I remember my dad had a loan, and he had to pay $500 to get it renewed after 3 years, and that was, we heard about that, I mean, and had to do without a few things that would have liked to have had, but this come first.
Did you, I suppose you went, did you go barefooted in the summertime?
Yes.
And when you went to school, did you
No,
wear
always had
shoes when you went to school?
yeah,
Overalls?
overalls, cambray shirt.
Did the boys, any of the boys ever chew tobacco or smoke cigarettes when you were?
I don't remember any of them.
Corncob pipes or?
No, that. And then Lakeview, when they're in high school, if they didn't smoke for the 4 years they were in high school, I think they gave them a gold coin.
Really?
I don't know, was it $5 or $10? I forget what it was, but a couple of the boys that were older, I mean, got these, and they thought it was pretty good because they hadn't smoked, I mean, and that.
So even back then, when you were growing up, people were aware of the dangers of cigarettes.
Oh, yes.
Did people die of cancer from smoking back then, or were they
Well,
aware of why they
didn't.
died? Or?
I don't think they were aware of it. My grandfather smoked, and my father smoked, and he also chewed tobacco, and they both lived to be 95, so
So yeah. School bell. Did you have a school bell that any of the kids get assigned to ring the bell, or was that the teacher's job?
I think that was usually the teacher's job, yeah.
How about a Victrola? Did you have any type of entertainment in the school? I don't imagine you had a radio.
No,
Did you have a phonograph or a Victrola? The piano?
No,
Nope. Did you ever have hot meals at the school? Hot meals at the school?
I don't think so. We did in high school, but we didn't at country school.
Do you ever remember having much homework when you were in country school? Take home?
I don't remember.
Do you suppose that was due to the farm kids had to help their folks as soon as they got home, and maybe they didn't have as much homework as they do nowadays?
Could be.
Do you ever remember any bad weather and your dad had to take you to school or come to school and get you a snowstorm?
Well, and this snowstorm, you say was 30,
35, 36?
35, yeah. We were going to high school then, and we still had to meet the bus 1.5 miles from home. And he took us with a wagon and a team of horses, and when we got over to meet the bus, my dad told the bus driver he better just turn around and not pick up any children because the storm was getting worse. And we got quite a time getting home then. I mean, because it really was storming.
In the Dust Bowl days, was there a problem with the grasshoppers?
Yes.
Any memories of you? Any?
Well, they just sort of came out of the fence rows, I mean, and came into the fields and corn and oats and whatever was there were eaten. And there was also chinch bugs.
What were chinch bugs?
They were a small bug that ate the plants then too.
Would they eat anything, or wheat, or oats, or corn, or
Yeah.
anything?
Yeah.
As a young boy, Halloween, was that, did young boys, farm boys, do anything on Halloween? Or
I don't remember that we did, no.
you never put a buggy on top of somebody's barn? Or, you never... Vern, you led a pretty clean life, didn't you? Field trips. Did you ever get to go on any field trips at school that your teacher would take you on a...
No, don't remember.
As you got older, when you had to go to school, did you have to get up early and help your dad milk cows and do the chores?
Yes. As I said, we just had 100 acres was farming, and we live between 4 towns, and they had one farm right close that said Midway Farm. That was equally distanced between these 4 towns, and so all of these towns were vying for students, and the superintendent from Early said, if you will meet the school bus, you can ride the school bus free. And so we still had to walk 1.5 miles to get to the bus, but Dad says, well, we're going to have to milk some more cows and have some more hogs and that to get you to go to high school. And my sister and I agreed that we'd do that.
So then when you come home after school, is the same thing? You had chores to do and
Right.
milk cows again?
Yep.
Did you have milk machines?
No.
Did you ever go to school, forget to wash your hands, and have that black ring around between your thumb and your forefinger
I tried not to.
from milking the cows? Did your dad ever keep you home during the harvest season to help them on the farm, or any of the farm families keep their children out of school that help them?
Well, no, it was, I guess it was because you're haymaking and harvesting small grains was during the summertime, and then in the fall was corn picking time, and we didn't have any vacation at that time.
Mm-hmm. Did you get involved in picking corn
Yes, I did.
hand by hand?
Yes.
Did you have a husk and peg? Did your dad furnish you a husk and peg?
No, I had what they call a hook, and I participated in a corn picking contest one time, but didn't win anything.
But you or somebody thought you were good enough to enter the contest?
Yeah.
And you liked using the hook method?
Yes.
Did you also have to wear a leather band around your wrist to keep it from getting your wrist getting lame?
No, I didn't, because the hook had a band around your wrist that helped keep it that way.
So when you'd go out to pick corn, what could you expect to pick in a day's time? That one wagon load or two wagon loads, or
Well,
what would be a good day as far as picking corn by hand?
I tried it one day, and I picked 100 bushel in one day. So that was two big wagons.
Two wagon loads.
Yeah.
Then when you got home, you had to shovel it off with a
Right.
scoop shovel.
Yeah. Had to shovel it off.
Did you have a corn crib that you had to throw it up
Yes.
over your head into the?
Yes.
You didn't go out for wrestling when you was a young boy,
No.
did you? What was one of the worst jobs as far as when you think back on the farm? What one
Cleaning
did
out the chicken house.
on Saturday morning? Why?
Because of the smell.
The
was
ammonia?
Ammonia. yes.
Ammonia smell.
Yeah.
How about haying? Haying? Did you mind that?
I always liked that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you? Would your job be up in the hay mow to mow the hay away?
No, I always had to be up in the hay mound. He always put the fork in the hay and that, but I was in the hay mound.
You were in the hay mow. That's what I meant.
Yes.
That was your job to mow
Right.
hay.
Yeah, right.
Did you put salt on the hay to keep it?
No, we didn't.
Did you ever have any farmers that had lost a barn because of the hay
Not that I
got too
remember
hot?
of, no, because most of them seem to they have it well cured before they put it in the barn.
Did your dad ever let you raise any your own hogs or livestock? That
I was in 4-H, and I had market lamb for 3 or 4 years, and I had a baby beef one year, and also had a corn plot, and this was a time that hybrid seed corn was coming into use, and so the county agent gave me some seed, and some of it was 1 foot high, and some was 14 feet high, and I made a cross, and my dad planted the hybrid seed corn in the next year, and the following year he went to hybrid seed corn.
So before hybrid, it was called what? Open pollinated.
Open pollinated, yes.
That meant
It was one that my dad usually was Reed's open pollinated corn, and so the pollination was between the same kind of corn. And then when we picked seed corn, he'd go out before he went to harvest the rest of it, and we'd try to get it a certain height and a big ear for seed corn
And
purposes.
save the kernels off
Right.
of those. Isn't the Garth Seed, the large seed corn company, someplace out there in
Yes.
northwestern Iowa that
Yeah,
Khrushchev come to visit that
yeah.
time? Plowing corn. Do you ever remember plowing corn?
Yes,
Single row or a double row plow?
it was a single row cultivator, and my dad always took the end rows because there was always a little difference in crossing the corn and that. So he thought I would be better back in the field a little bit further when you were crossing the corn.
When you plowed any out, did he insist you get off the plow and
Right.
replant
He
the?
always had a stick that we had to and cover the corn if it was covered up with dirt.
Did you find that a boring job or kind of a relaxing job, that plowing corn with a single row corn plow and an hour after hour? That could be either way, I guess.
Well, it was always kind of nice to come to the end of the row, and if I got ahead of him, why I waited for him, and if he was ahead of me, why he would wait for me till we go back across the field.
Were your horses, could you rely on them pretty much? Do they kind of read your mind, knew what you wanted them to do as far as stopping and starting? And
Most of the time, yes, especially when picking corn. I mean, just tell them to stop, and they would stop.
and then if you wanted them to move ahead a little bit, you would
Yep.
say, tell them what?
Tell them, go ahead.
And they would just go ahead a few feet. And
Right.
let's get you into high school. Did you go to high school out around Wall Lake too?
No, that was at
Erling?
early
Yeah.
consolidated school
And what year did you graduate from high school?
in 1936.
Did you have any idea what you wanted to do with your life yet?
Yes.
Was there many options open for high school?
Well, there was
graduation?
a lot of options, I guess. I mean, but the neighbors' boys went to Sac City, and there was 6 schools in the state that were experimenting on vocational agriculture, and I liked what they were doing, and so I decided a long time ago that I'd wanted to become a vocational ag instructor.
Did this stem from your experience with the 4-H in being involved in the 4-H?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And what could you expect to do in that type of work, or what did you think you'd like to do in that type of work?
Well,
Work with farm?
with high school vocational ag students, and then of course they had what they call the Future Farmers of America, which was a club, and then also had young farmers, farmers that were not married, shall we say, in most cases, and then we also had adult farmer classes in the wintertime. So you work with both the children and their parents.
So where did you go to school to pursue this?
Iowa State University.
And what year did you start there?
I got my degree in 1948.
Okay, so we got to back up here a bit. Did you get caught up in the military?
Oh yes, I got Uncle Sam got me for 5 years. I volunteered for the Coast Guard.
What
and
year was that?
That'd been 1942, I guess it was.
Shortly after Pearl Harbor,
Oh, it was just before that.
just before
Yeah.
Pearl Harbor? Did you end up going overseas?
No, I didn't. I spent most of my time in San Francisco, and then I went to Groton, Connecticut for about 6 months as an instructor for carpentry. But we never had the class because war was winding down, and so we never really got to do it.
Where'd you take your basic training?
Port Townsend, Washington.
You were going to teach woodworking. Is this something that you did as a growing up? Did you like to work with wood, or did you have the opportunity to work with wood? Or
Well, I always liked to work with wood. I mean, and I took a couple of courses in industrial education as well as vocational agriculture.
so, what were your duties in the Coast Guard when you ended up on the East Coast?
I was in the carpenter shop as a carpenter's mate.
What would you be making in the carpenter shop for the Coast Guard? Or
You got me there. I know it. Beginning pay was $21 a month, and I spent half of it for a war bond, and that I forget. And then when I got married, well, I got a little bit more as well. So I forget what those wages were, but they were not a lot.
So, what year did you get discharged then?
That would have been
41, 5 years, you said 46?
60s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you had gotten married then, shortly though, after you.
Right.
And who did you marry?
Was Rosalia Capobianco was her name.
What was her nationality? Italian, or
Italian, yes.
where'd you happen to meet her?
In San Francisco. At the, what do you call it? They had places where you could dance and
USO or?
USO, yeah, yeah.
And then when you got out of service, did you take advantage of the GI Bill? And
Yes, I had completed 2 years at Iowa State, and then I completed my degree then in 1948.
in vocational agriculture?
Right.
And so then, what after that? Did you get assigned to teach someplace, or?
I went to Pocahontas for 4 years, and then down in Washington for 15 years, and then 2 years at Toledo. And I was what you call it, through the offices of the Iowa Vocational Ag Teachers group, and I was president in one year then.
Then what would you find yourself doing? Would you have been teaching young farmers or people just interested in agriculture? What was your duties as a?
Well, it was mainly to bring them up to date on new techniques and that of farming, and that, and of course, the Farm Bureau and the Extension Service was doing the same thing, and that, but mainly was with the young people that might be wanting to go into farming.
Future farmers of America.
Right.
Did this involve traveling quite a bit?
Quite a bit of travel, yes.
So, how did you, or what year did you end up in the Cedar Rapids area?
This would be, 67, I guess it was.
67, 68?
Yeah. And then I got into the skill center at Kirkwood Community College, evaluating all industrial activities, auto mechanics, small gasoline engines, electricity, carpentry work, and I guess that was about it,
Was this when Kirkwood just started?
Right. This was the beginning of Kirkwood.
And your duties would been to evaluate people that wanted to further their education or needed additional education. You would evaluate them
Yes.
to see if they could possibly fit into.
Right. For example, in our welding evaluation, I sent them over to the welding shop, and the instructor gave his first unit to the students, and if they could pass it, they could automatically just get into the welding program. And so we had a real good cooperation from that standpoint. For auto mechanics, for example, they had to get in at the beginning of the year, but and so this was one of those things that Kirkwood was willing to take these people who had some abilities in a particular field.
Did you find yourself working out with a lot of people because of factory shutdowns, like Harnischfeger, Link Belt Speeder, FMC, Wilson's?
Yes, and even some of the students that had gone to the university at Iowa City came through our program, and that after they had got their degree, because they had nothing to sell, shall we say, as far as their education was concerned.
But when these different factories, if they shut down, people had to find another type of employment.
Right.
So
Yes. Mm-hmm.
they would come out to you, and you would have to evaluate them.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Did you? Did the court system ever send you anybody?
Not that we knew of.
Yeah. It is pretty much people that were looking for legitimate work.
Right.
And
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
how about in later years? Did a lot of different ethnic backgrounds?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The Asian population and Hispanic and
Yes. Right.
was this on campus or off site that you?
We were first on Rockford Road, and then Jones Hall was made over at the main campus, so we were over there then.
Did you ever try to place anybody that was physically or mentally challenged? Would they come out there seeking your services to?
Yes, there was one lady that was her responsibility to get a job, and I have one success story that I might tell.
Yes.
This was a Korean. He had his doctor's degree, but he could not practice here in the United States, and so he went through our program, and in my woodworking or carpentry work, I told him that he could take any kind of a piece of wood out of the scrap box here and make a pencil holder. I said, don't have any more than 5 holes to put your pencil in, but I said, by that time you've got the experience of drilling holes. And he made a pencil holder out of a 4x4, and in measuring it, there was not over a 1/16 of an inch difference in any way I could measure it. And so I told the instructor that was getting a job that he needed to have a good job where he could use his skills. And as far as I know, he's still over there with the Pertesis company over at Lisbon. And he was one of those outstanding students, shall we say, and that. So.
Did your your hours at Kirkwood, was that kind of like the regular school system year? Did you work 9 months in all three, or?
No, it was a year's job.
Was you able to belong to their IPERS program, the Iowa Public Employee Retirement Association?
Yes.
You're eligible for that?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. What year did you retire then from Kirkwood?
Oh. Was it
1978, I think.
I think it'll be out now.
Why did you leave, Vern? Because you just got tired of it, or?
I was 66. I worked one more year than I needed to.
Was it mandatory that you get out of there, or could you have stayed longer if you
I
wanted?
probably could have, but there was a well-qualified fellow that took my job, and did real well with it too, so.
Did you ever get a chance to go back out to the campus
I belong to what they call pioneers, those people that have worked at Kirkwood and I don't know whether you get into this or not, and I don't know whether I said anything about it before, but I've given Kirkwood a annuity. Did I tell you about that?
No, you didn't. Go ahead and tell
Okay.
us.
Well, when my wife was alive, we took out some annuities for each one of our colleges. She was from California, and I was from Iowa State, and also from St. Paul's Church. And I added a couple more, and so there's Kirkwood Community College, St. Paul's Church, Iowa State University, and Methwick. And they all have the same system of the annuities, depending on your age. And so I'm 87, and I'm getting 11 and 1% interest on my annuities. And so as I have one at Kirkwood, I have one at Methwick here, and I have one at the University of Iowa. And I've gotten 5 letters now of students that are receiving scholarships from this annuity at Iowa State. The other ones have not been anything. I designated all of them that would be, the money would have been for scholarships.
It must give you a nice feeling then.
Feels very good.
Yeah.
Because to me, I belong to a Bible class at St. Paul's. We meet at 7 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, and we're always trying to think of what we can do at our age, shall we say.
Yeah.
And so it gives me a kind of a feeling that I'm doing something
Yes.
that maybe, well, for example, one of these girls, she wants to be a lawyer dealing in farm real estate and farm law, especially in conservation, water conservation, and so on and so forth. So to me, she has decided what she wants to do, and if the little scholarship that I gave her will help her, gives me a little feeling that maybe I'm helping something.
Yeah, that's great. Ashley, you spent all your working years with the education system,
Right.
educational system in Iowa then, didn't you? Yeah. What year did your wife pass away?
93.
Did she work outside of the home?
She was a social worker, yes. And when our children got big enough, she went back to work.
You have a nice picture over here. Did you, when you first got married, your wife grew up on the West Coast, I take it?
Yes.
Was that kind of a culture shock for her to come back or come to the Midwest to live around?
Yes, and a lot of people, they always thought she was from New York. And that, I didn't ever associate this, but she seemed to enjoy it here, and my family accepted her right away, and so that was a good thing.
Did you go back to visit her family on the West
Yes.
Coast then?
Yes, we went back several times.
Children, how many children?
4 children.
And their names?
John, Elizabeth, David, and Barbara.
And what are they doing today?
John is working for a company that makes posters and banners and so on and so forth, and he's attempting to set up his own shop for art and that.
Is that John here, the picture we're looking at?
This one here, yes.
Yes. Okay.
Your daughter, one of your daughters?
That's my daughter then, yes.
Okay.
She lives up at Juneau, Alaska, and she's working with the museum and the education department in Alaska. And she has 1 son,
And the other 2 children?
and the other 2 is David. He works at 3M in Ames, and he has 1 son, and he's working in the area education department at Waterloo. And then I have the youngest daughter lives in St. Louis, and her husband works with McDonnell Douglas Aircraft. She is a special education teacher. They have 2 children.
And then these are all your grandchildren?
Yes, they've been taken a couple years ago.
So after you retired, Vern, did you and your wife travel any, or did you have hobbies that?
We took a couple of trips. We took around the world trip. We went to China, Russia, and Sweden, and that. And then we went another time to Russia, and also went to Jerusalem on a trip. So we did a little traveling.
How about hobbies?
I have so many of them. I like colored slides, and I like to fish, and I like woodworking and refinishing antiques. And I have a collection of boxes, salters, candlesticks, and nutcrackers.
You were talking about your teakwood tables.
Yes.
You had made.
You want the story on those?
Yes, please.
These nest of tables were made out of teak wood, and they remodeled one of the ferry boats in San Francisco Bay, and this is the wood from it. And so I had not quite enough wood for the top table, and so I never quite finished them. And I wanted to do something one time, and my wife says, "Why don't you finish the things that you've already got started?" She knew what I was talking about, and so I surprised her then at Christmas time and presented the tables to her then at that time.
Did you pursue your woodworking hobby throughout your life after you got out of the Coast Guard, or did
Yes.
you kind of get away from it?
I was a building superintendent for a Habitat house on Fifth Avenue, and that's for St. Paul's Church. And I last year finished my back porch, and also have a display of farm machinery and that in my garage.
You were active with the Linn County Historical Society.
Yes.
How far back? Quite a few years when
Quite a few years, yeah. I forgot what it was.
when it was quite young.
Yes.
The society was quite young. Was it prior to them having a place on what 8th Avenue? That
Yes. Yes. Ed Kuba was president, and he had a building down there that we met for a while. Yes.
Do you remember Alberta Cray,
Yes.
Nova Daniels?
Yes.
How many members would there have been in the society when you first joined it?
Well, when we started, there was just a few of them because they had a Linn County Historical Society, but it was not active. And so it was activated, and we got up to 156 members at one time, I think.
And did you, what did you do? Did you physically work with the History Center collecting artifacts, or going around the country looking for artifacts?
Yes, I did some of that. We had a couple sales, and that to get money for,
Raise money?
yeah.
Seminole Valley.
I was with Seminole Valley Farm for about 20 years, and so I guess the big things was we had Apple Day in the fall, and had a big celebration and that, and they have put a plaque by some of the trees out there and dedicated to me, and that at Seminole Valley Farm.
Vern, what is this? I guess you would call it kind of like a wooden collage. Is this something relating to your family history, or?
This is some artifacts that I got from my father.
Did you make the frame?
I made the frame, yes.
Starting in the upper left-hand corner up there, just go across and.
Okay, there's some pictures of my family, and here's my parents on their 50th wedding anniversary, and the 50th anniversary piece there. The next one is their wedding picture. Another one is a family. These are some of the products that my dad used on the farm.
Those vials.
Vials of soybeans and so on and so forth. This was a wooden peg for a old building, and this is some other things that he used. These are some rings that he used on the livestock, the bull ring and hog rings and so on and so forth. This here is a little wrench and a whetstone for using on a sickle. Here's his Bible and a cap off of a Model T Ford and a key for the house. And I always thought my dad was a pretty good manager. He would take 3 cents and make a nickel out of it. And this was a turkey wishbone at one of our family reunions. And this is some seed that Dad used. Below that then is a corn picking hook that he used,
Husking peg,
hasting peg,
some old barbed wire.
and some barbed wire. This here is a geode from down in the southeastern part of the state. Here's a 4th-generation picture. My dad, myself, and David and Brian. And this was sort of a carving that I made out of the buildings up at the farm. And here's Dad with 4 horses on a disc. This was his shaving mug here. And he was a sort of a veterinarian or that, as far as that's concerned. This was for mastitis, where a cow had trouble. And this was his butcher knife that he used to butcher the hogs or cattle with. This was castrating knife. This was a nail for shoes for horses. And here's his watch down here. And what do I have in the box there?
A candle.
Oh, that's a souvenir candlestick, I guess.
Well, that's very nice, Vern.
Well, my dad got a lot of comments from it while he was still alive.
Oh, your dad was able to see this.
Yes.
Oh, great, great. Vern, unless you have any other memories you would share with us, the Linn County Historical Society, the Cedar Rapids History Center would like to thank you very much for sharing your memories with us.
It's been my pleasure.
Thank you very much.